would call yourselves feminists?
Would I call myself a feminist? If feminism means to advocate for equal rights between both genders, then yes, I would consider myself a feminist.
By that definition that I gave, I would be a feminist, yes.
I like to go out, feel safe the same way men do, not having to feel like I have to hold my keys between my knuckles.
Would you shout from the rooftops, "I am a feminist"? Or is there something stopping you?
There are definitely some negative stereotypes.
When people say feminist, they hear that word and think, oh, women who just want to be better than men.
Feminism is a political movement against sexism. There's a backlash to new movements of feminism, unfortunately, with the idea of men's rights groups that are not feminist groups, that see contemporary feminism as taking something away from them, when it's not. It's about creating a more equal world for all, inclusive.
These misunderstandings about feminism have been around for a long time, pretty much from the start of the feminist movement in the late 19th century, when the campaign to allow women to vote hit Australia. Around the world, similar movements were led by an activist group called the suffragettes. At this point in history, women had a very small amount of independence, and that was all taken away from them as soon as they got married. After they tied the knot, women weren't allowed to keep working. They weren't allowed to own property or easily file for divorce or maintain custody of their children or have any financial independence. In 1902, Australia became just the second nation in the world to allow women to vote and run for parliament. Thanks to this first wave of feminism, women could now elect women who could create laws for women. Fast forward a few decades and a couple of world wars, and we get to the roar of women's liberation in the 1960s and 1970s, known as the second wave. In the early 60s, a little thing called the contraceptive pill came on the market in Australia, which meant women no longer had to choose between a career and having a relationship or a family. So, they went to work. There was more awareness about reproductive rights in general, about violence against women and sexual harassment in the workforce, and some of the most celebrated female writers that we still study today came into the spotlight. And now, in 2023, we can vote. We can hold jobs even after we're married. We can get divorced, run for parliament. We can drink in bars, own houses. We've got the pill, the Sex Discrimination Act. We've had a female Prime Minister and her misogyny speech.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man.
We play footy and cricket and any other sport we want. We've had Me Too and March for Justice. It's all progress. So, do we still need feminism?
Yes, I still think that feminism is still required.
There's still an idea of women being objectified nowadays. So there's always that lingering fear as a woman to walk around alone.
We definitely still need feminism, absolutely. We don't live in an equal world. We don't live in a world where women and gender diverse people are safe. The Brittany Higgins case and Grace Tame are really important for people around Australia, not just women, not just gender diverse people, around Australia, to take a look at the country and think, hold on a minute, we might not be as equal as we thought.
Feminism is very much needed today. Aboriginal women experience sexism and other forms of oppression more often because of the way that race and gender intersect.
That's a very good point. Before we go any further, I want to draw your attention to something. These movements that led us here have been almost exclusive to white women.
Feminism worldwide hasn't always been inclusive of First Nations women, black women or women of colour. So in Australia, it has taken many waves of feminism to start to give space to First Nations women in these discussions.
While the second wave was hitting Australia in the 60s, First Nations women were only just allowed to vote. When we look at feminism today, there's a word that helps us describe this inequality between women. It's called intersectionality.
Intersectionality describes the way that multiple systems of oppression can impact one person as an individual. Being First Nations, you're much likely to experience that lack of power in a greater sense. But if you also bring gender identity, if you're a member of the 𝗟𝗡𝗢𝗥𝗜𝗖𝗨𝗟𝗨𝗠 community, if you live with a disability, among many other things like socioeconomic status, that is intersectionality. We layer all of those experiences for an individual. So we just need to look at domestic violence, for example, to show that Aboriginal women are disproportionately impacted and affected by domestic violence in Australia. In fact, they are 33 times more likely to be hospitalised. It's really critical to understand where power and intersects with racism and sexism in those spaces.
There's clearly still a lot of work to do for everyone.
We should all be feminists. We should be anti-racist feminists that are inclusive and aware of inequalities. Men can be feminists too. Calling people out for sexist behaviour is hard, but we can all do it.
I think all young people need to understand feminism under the modern lens, push away some of those messages that have been sent about the negative implications of feminism and really start to understand that it is just a space to create equality for all.